Hello, people. Welcome back to the podcast. I am on my own today. I've notoriously not really enjoyed solo podcasting, but through my little phase of being in Australia and doing maybe like 3 or 4 months of solo podcasting, I learned to actually enjoy it. I learned to actually like be myself and be a wee freak on my own. And it made for some bearable listening. So I've acquired the skill of being able to do it to an all right degree, but I'm actually excited for this episode. So I'd done this last year, and I would actually maybe like to watch that back because I am actually like really happy with how this year has went and how I've changed as a person. Now, I don't want to be gimpy, and I don't want to be too, emotional and stuff. But I'm pretty happy with where I'm at in life. And see, if you asked me at the start of the year, would I be happy with like whatever the amount of money I've made and like moving back home and like whatever else has happened in life, I'd probably go, well, I'm not interested in that. But it's like where I am just now and how I actually feel about myself and my life is a good spot. It's just not maybe what I was striving for like 2 years ago, but that's what I want to talk about. Probably just people that are older than me are probably just like, yeah, this is just maturing, mate. You're just getting older. But there's certain things that go on in the fitness industry, the coaching industry, the online coaching space as well, that I don't think many people are realizing, and these are realizations I've came to this year, and it's stuff I want to go through. So this is the top 10 lessons I've learned from 2023. Before we go into it, I would just like to say we hit that goal of over 200 ratings on Spotify. We're on 205. I got about 50 in the last 2 weeks. So you're all a bunch of absolute legends. Now I've spoke about this a few times, but my main thing that I'm gonna do over the next few years is podcasting. I was about to make a reel the other day and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I making an Instagram reel when my aim is to have a business for the next 10 to 20 years? My aim is to coach for the next 10 to 20 years. And if I just make long form content that people can search on YouTube, if I make a podcast that can grow over time, whereas Instagram, you need to constantly feed it, whereas a podcast, the more episodes you have, the more that are searchable, the more that are there, it snowballs. So I was like, what's the point of me doing Instagram reels? That's just for gratification at the time. Whereas if I just do podcast and stuff, then I won't need to worry about inquiries down the line. So that's what I'm doing. So yeah, all of these ratings and stuff are helping me massively. I want to be a bit more interactive with the people that listen to this. Loads of people are DMing me and stuff, and a few people have like, thank you so much for getting back to me, because you've said in the podcast it's quite hard to get back to people. But that's what I want. I want like people that listen to the podcast. I want to like know who a few of them are, actually speak to them. I've had actual conversations with people in my DMs that have listened to the podcast. So many people are enlightened after all the business mentor chat, because I have a mix of random people that are trying to get into fitness, and coaches that listen. So I'm trying to talk about things without talking about things I don't want to talk about, and also cover all bases. So sometimes it's going to be fitness, sometimes it's going to be coaching stuff, and sometimes it's going to be pure and utter shite, utter nonsense. But anyway, yeah, before we get into the episode, on YouTube, I'm just going to ask a question and put your answer in the comments. So, bog standard, basic shit here, in theme with the podcast. What has been your biggest lesson of 2023? Let's get deep, let's get emotional, let's get self-aware, because that's what my full 10 lessons are about. In the Spotify, I don't know where it is, right, but basically you can create this Q&A feature. I want to start using it more. The question in there is going to be, what is the biggest lesson you've learned? Give us an answer, or don't DM me, give us an answer. I want to see it in there, And my next goal for next year is a thousand ratings by the end of the year. So I'm going to keep banging on about it. I know this is a long intro, but solo episodes are different. You talk shite, you basically start speaking and you see where your mouth stops, and then you try to figure out what to say next. So with no further ado, that's not a sentence, that's not English. Let's get into the podcast and start with number 1. Okay, numero uno. Is that Spanish? I tried to learn Spanish for a wee bit of this year, and I think that's all I can remember. Or aeropuerto, that means airport. I know that one because I got my phone stolen in Benidorm 2 years ago, and I couldn't get to the airport, and it said aeropuerto on the sign, and I knew that. I was like, that's where I have to go. So I went to the taxi and went pointed to the sign. You follow those signs to the aeropuerto. And then I tried to, do you know what? Before we get into this, right? Ryanair, you bastards. I went up to them. Sad story. Listen, mate, my phone gets stolen in Benidorm. I don't have a boarding pass, but I'm here 3 hours early for your convenience. Can you print me one off? And he went, it's like 30 quid. I was like, excuse me? And he was like, yeah, if you can't check in, it's 30 quid. So, like the human I am, I had my laptop with me, signed in on my laptop, got my boarding pass up on my laptop, and I was like, shove this up your arse, can you scan that? And he was like, we really shouldn't be scanning. And I was like, can you scan it? And he was like, yeah, and he scanned it, and then I went in, and I was like, yeah, get out fucking up here. Get up, you bastard. Anyway, number 1. Online, see what I mean about like you get lost where your sentences go when you do solo ones. Number 1, online work does not fulfill me. I think it doesn't fulfill a lot of people. I think online coaching doesn't fulfill a lot of people. Now, you want to be very careful the way you say this, right? Because about 30% of my clients I've never met in real life, and I have really good relationships with them, and I've only ever communicated with them on WhatsApp. But I've created, since I've came home, not created a place because I didn't come up with this gym that I work out of, it's Dale's, but I have a space where I can now train my online clients in person and build in-person relationships. So that cancels out me just working on WhatsApp and being unfulfilled, because even though there's people there I've never met, throughout the week, I know I've got in-person sessions sporadically throughout the week that suit my schedule and stuff, and they're what fulfill me and allow me to do the online coaching without being unfulfilled. There you go. There's my long-winded answer for how to try not offend my online clients that I've never met, because I do enjoy working with them. But I'll be honest with you, if you were all online like it was before, I was unfulfilled massively. Now, I think this podcast, I'm going to be brutally honest. Me, Dale and James have been having a lot of, quite emotional chats, because it's getting to that festive season. We've all got mummy issues comes up again, and we're just kind of talking about what we want to do going forward and stuff. So I'm feeling a bit raw, feeling a bit cynical, and feeling a bit like I want to be as honest as possible going forward. So I'm going to lean into the fact I am a cynical bastard, but I'm also honest. My cynicism comes from a place of good. It comes from me actually wanting to get people to fucking see what is going on and see the fucking shit that people put out there and see through all the bollocks. Because honestly, the amount of people that think you've got all of these fitness people that are honest and they call out the bollocks are the ones full of the most shit, actually. So I'm trying to build self-awareness. It's worked for me a lot this year, and I would like to spread that. I'd like to spread self-awareness within if you can do that, if that's possible. It's one of the skills I feel like I've developed the most this year, and it's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. But anyway, I think this is a prediction for the next year, right? And this might seem very much in my niche, but it's not, because I've been speaking to people who aren't coaches, who have never had a coach, and they're just like, man, who isn't an online coach these days? It's a bit like, do you remember when everyone became a makeup artist maybe about 10 years ago, and it was everyone had an Instagram name and it was MUA? It's like that. That's what online coaching is. People see it as this like dream nomadic lifestyle, and everyone's trying to do it. Everyone that starts going to the gym is trying to do it, and here I am one of them. But it actually aligned with who I was, and I maybe came into it with the wrong intentions, but I landed on my feet because it aligned with who I was as a person. Now, a lot of people, it won't align with who they are, and they're gonna go into the pile of people who try coaching and leave because it's not actually for them or what they care about. But what I think you're going to see is you're going to see a massive shift of people who online coach or were trying to online coach or are successfully online coaching, move back to in-person coaching, move back to trying to create group coaching or as much in-person stuff as possible, just maybe in a smarter business manner, because one-to-one face-to-face, like doing 2 or 3 sessions a week with the same client, it's a good way to start, but to actually have a fulfilling, sustainable business, you're just basically counting people's reps once you've taught them everything. But I think you're going to see a big shift, because every like most online coaches that I speak to that are fully online are so lonely. That's why all the business mentorships are taking over. And by the way, I had quite a few people that were in business mentorships send me big massive messages also about why they maybe disagree with me, but their messages were so long that I was like, why are you're obviously triggered by something I've said, so look at the length of message you're sending me. There's obviously something within that you know that they're not all it's cracked up to be. Now, honestly, I'm finished with the business mentor chat. I went and unfollowed a mass amount of people, but it still ties into, like, I think there's going to be a big shift of people realizing online coaching just isn't this dream job. Also, potential clients just seeing that online coaching, there's going to be, by the time the next 2 years come in, there's going to be that many people that have been burned by these online coaches, and that many people that are quite depressed because they're not getting much out of the way society's going, the way technology's advancing, and more people are secluding themselves from society, and with more awareness on the fact that your life will be better if you have more people around you. I think you're going to see a big change into more in-person stuff, more community-driven stuff, more like rebuilding like your actual communities as well. There's going to be a big shift, because if there isn't, mental health is just going to keep rising. Like mental health, but poor mental health is going to keep rising. I think obesity is going to keep rising, and that half of that is to do with poor mental health and the fact that being more secluded, being on your phone more, moving less is going to cause obesity to rise anyway. So it's all going to go hand in hand. I think there's going to be a massive shift. So anyone I've spoke to that is an online coach who's been doing it for 2 or 3 years, they are never really that happy. They're not like I was. I was very unfulfilled, very lonely. And I think I've been speaking about this since the moment I started the podcast, because when I started the podcast, it was when I'd done a year of online coaching and I went into in-person coaching. And that's what I've been speaking about the full time. And the more and more I do coaching, the more and more coaches I meet, the more I can see it, the more I can smell it coming. Like, there's going to be a big shift, and there's more and more people starting to do coaching, and just be weary of the dream being sold of online coaching, because it's not a dream. In reality, it's a lonely desk job where you don't learn that much, and you can't create the actual relationships you maybe need to get the best out of your work as a person, like fulfillment and helping your client as much as possible. Numero 2. So, following on from the last one, because everyone has been going through this social media boom, everyone that has started building their own business in every industry, because of the likes of Gary Vee, and I can't think of any other ones, maybe Stephen Bartlett, everyone knew that they had to start getting wise with social media. They were missing out if they didn't jump on the social media train, building brands on social media. Everyone knew that, and here, who doesn't have a wee side hustle at the moment with an Instagram page? At half of my school, will invite me to their Facebook page where they're making cakes or something. Everybody's got a side hustle. Everybody's talking on their Instagram stories. Nobody is living under a rock anymore. Everyone knows that building a social media platform was probably a wise move, and they could make a lot of money from it. And if you're smart, you could build a successful business before everyone jumped on the bandwagon. But here now, everyone's on the bandwagon. The full of the country's on the bandwagon. Nobody's fallen asleep over the social media boom. However, another prediction that I'm gonna make is there is going to be a market, a massive demand for people who are good with people, who have good people skills, and there's going to be a massive shortage of people who are good with people and have good people skills and understand face-to-face human psychology, because nobody's doing it anymore, because they're all just on their phones building internet businesses. And I really think there's going to be you're going to stand out from the crowd massively if you're good with people. This is what I was talking about. I think I said this on my Instagram story the other day. See, if you took all my clients off me, because of how I've operated in the last 2 years, I was in social media crowds. I built a lot of followers on TikTok. I built a decent Instagram following. I was in a crowd of people who were figuring out the Instagram algorithm, who were growing rapidly. I was growing along with them, and it just didn't feel right to me. And it was about 2.5 years ago now. It was August 2021 when I decided, right, I'm moving back home. I'm going in person. I'm still going to post on social media and stuff, and I still done Instagram in a way that gained followers and stuff like that. But my main thing was right, I don't care about how much money I make. This is 2022. It's I don't care about how much money I make. I want an in-person coach this year. And I made less money on my second year of coaching than I did on my first year, because I was doing in-person. And well, actually, my expenses were just about the same, probably because I wasn't living in London anymore. But because there isn't many people that are doing that, there's going to be less and less people that are good at coaching. But this is what I said on my Instagram story. If I lost all my clients, I know that I could, from all my experience of traveling, all my experience of working different jobs, working hospitality jobs, customer service jobs, doing sales jobs, and then on top of all my coaching in person, all the free sessions I've done, my ability to just be welcoming when people come in the door to do a free session, or just my confidence in myself as who I am as a person, trying to actually help people and being good at my job. I know if I lost all my clients, yes, I would be a wee bit stressed because I have bills to pay. I have a '06 Ford Fiesta to run, it's pretty expensive. I had to get, well, actually it is pretty expensive because it keeps fucking breaking. But I know that I could, I wouldn't even need this. I wouldn't even need this phone. And I might honestly do this in January just to prove a point. But I could go around all the houses. So this place is in Airdrie. I could go around all the houses in Airdrie, and I would do it until I got 20 people that said they would do a free session. By the way, 10 of them might not turn up, but I would do 10 free sessions. Even if only 3 of them signed up, I'll be like, right, I've got 3 clients. I'd go to Coatbridge, which is the next town along, do it again. And then I would ask my friends and my family, do you know anyone? And then I'd get them, I'd speak to all of them. And I just know, but if I just kept doing 3 sessions, by March, I would have a full diary again. And there isn't many people with that skill. There isn't many people promoting that skill. The people that are people I talk about all the time. So like that How to Be a Personal Trainer podcast, Mind Pump is really good as well. There isn't many people. They're all the courses out there, all the mentorships out there are trying to tell you about quick ways to make sales, quick ways to like double your income by next month. And there isn't many people that are just like, man, just play the long game. Just actually be a good person and get good at your job. And let the self-confidence you have from that is tenfold. And I don't know if you can hear the passion in my voice, but this is what we've been speaking about. It's like, man, it pays off. It genuinely pays off. All of those people that I used to like maybe being in groups with, they've all got way more followers than me. Their bank accounts are bigger than me, bigger than mine. But like, man, like this year has felt so good by the end of it. Like it just feels nice, and it's not even. I'm not sitting here with like, oh, I hit 100,000 followers, and like, well, we fucking balloon that I've bought myself, which makes me fucking cringe when I see shit like that. But it just feels good. Feels good to actually be honest about stuff, and feel like you're actually making a positive impact, and it actually aligns with who you are. So that's the biggest thing I've learned this year, is like playing the long game and actually just trying to be a decent person, and like admitting when you're wrong. I tell clients all the time if I think I've maybe said something that I shouldn't have said, and it just pays off in the long run with everything. So that was, a wee bit passionate there. So let's get into the next one. Honesty works in business. Now, you have many people that are claiming to be authentic, and you can smell that they aren't, right? You have many people that are playing their X Factor story. This is something we've been talking about quite a lot. Man, I'm in such a cynical mood, right? But, right, wee bit of a rant. See all the people that are like, I don't know, whatever, from Glasgow, Newcastle, Liverpool, Belfast, right? And have a story that they are from a council house, or their mum and dad were in poverty, or that they're working class and they have took cocaine. If you are from one of those cities, who hasn't? Who has not took a line of cocaine in Glasgow? Whose mum and dad in Glasgow isn't working class? They are the minority. It's not relatable. You're full of shit, you know. And this is a bit too negative, right? It's a bit too cynical. But this is what I mean. People are like, oh, he's so relatable. He has he's took cocaine. Who the fuck isn't he? Who's not took cocaine in Glasgow, right? Now, I've only recently kind of confessed to my dad that I've maybe dabbled in my early 20s, and I think because I was never bad for drugs, but But this is what I mean. I've got videos of, like, I could easily just, and I probably did do it a wee bit with the drinking, but that's things I've realised, because this is what I want to get into as well. Because I, like, it's so easy for me to pull off videos of me steaming or whatever, and not drinking thing, I think I had good intentions, but then before you know it, the videos are getting loads of views. I'd done it a wee bit too many times. I was like, here, I've got a load of alcoholics following me that genuinely think I can help them, and I can't. And I'd love to be able to help them, but I know nothing about alcoholism. So I ended up with a load of people that have genuine drinking problems following me. This is why it's so toxic to just, like, chase followers and stuff like that. But where was I going with that? Your X Factor story's shite. It's not actually honest, but, like, true honesty. Like I'm saying, like, I'm constantly like, should I just pull back here and not really say how I feel? But this is how I feel. I feel like everyone's X Factor stories, this shite. Like, anyone can say that they used to drink, take drugs, and their families. But I constantly say this to James and Dale. I'm like, we start talking about stuff with our upbringing. I'm like, man, like, I didn't even think this was really a problem. I didn't grow up knowing that, like, things were a wee bit fucked up until, like, you speak about it with other people, and it's like, it just doesn't feel right to, like, play on that. They're grim things. Like, people's actual trauma and all that is grim. It's not something to play on. Like, when I put up that podcast, there's one podcast, I won't say what number it is or anything, but I talked about therapy. Honestly, the worst feeling I've ever had was putting that podcast out. But I didn't just go, here, I had anxiety or depression or whatever. I went, here's all this shit. Here's what happened. Here's what I went through in therapy, what we actually discussed. And my thing was, I hope like 10 people go to therapy after listening to that. And then I got about 50 DMs off the back of it, and I didn't reply to one single one, because everyone would say, you're so brave and all that. I was like, I'm not brave. And I don't want to be told I'm brave. Just fucking... if you feel similar, I hope that helps you, and I hope it helps you maybe go to therapy. And please don't say I'm brave, because I'm not. It's just out there you go. And it was fucking horrible, actually. So, like, when people are like, I had anxiety this year, and I got through it, and here's my thing that you can buy because I can help people get through anxiety, it's bollocks. It's pure bollocks. And everyone's took gear. It's not impressive. But anyway, the honesty in business, right? So there's a massive demand for honest people out there. There's a huge demand for people, because people are genuinely getting sick. Like, potential clients, I speak to my clients and I actually, like, ask them about previous experiences with coaching. Some of them have good experience with other coaches. Typically, the people who have good experiences tend to have worked with someone that didn't have a lot of Instagram followers and that sort of jazz, and they've met them in person. It was like an in-person training thing. The people who have bad experiences tend to be the ones who have jumped on someone because they've seen their marketing and they've been, and it's online coaching and stuff like that. They're the ones that tend to have bad experiences and feel like they've been misled into buying the coaching. But I was trying to say this to some of the PTs that have messaged me in my DMs and stuff. Like, there's a demand for people who do not want to be put through a photo shoot. There is a demand for people who don't want to be led down a path of just weight loss. There's a demand for people who just want to feel confident and learn how to lift. There's a shift where people do not need to be told anymore that strength training will benefit them. Those people are out there. If you put content out that's just about weight loss, it's just about how people need to be more disciplined and stuff, you're going to attract people that don't know anything about the fact that they should maybe strength train and stuff like that. When you're more honest about it, like, I think this is why I've had such a better year, because the clients I actually get from being more honest, they don't come to me and go, can I just not go to the gym? They might struggle to get to the gym, still have gym anxiety and stuff like that, still have all of those issues that normal clients, like I've always had, that I've always struggled, like I've always had clients that maybe have gym anxiety, because that's a very normal thing. Also a very normal thing to get over. But when you come at it, sorry, nearly hiccup there. Oh, I did hiccup there. When you come at it from being honest, my clients who come to me actually know who I am already. They're honestly already like 50% doing what I want them to do. And they're already willing to hear what I'm going to say. They already are trying to get in the gym. They just don't really know what they're doing in there yet. They already are trying to strength train. They just don't have a fucking clue how to teach themselves. So like they already are doing a half of my job for me. But that's because I've been brutally honest and putting out the stuff that I genuinely think is going to help people. I'm not putting out stuff to like bait people into like wanting coaching from me. I'm putting stuff out there to genuinely help people. I DM people back with genuine advice I would give them if they were my client. And then if you do that with 100 people, 5 of them might want coached off of you, and they're already doing what you've advised them to do or trying. So like honesty just works. It works as a business model, and there's more of a demand for it than ever. So you don't need to be false. You don't need to like put out these false promises, or the whole transformation thing still works, but it's becoming less and less relevant. It's working less and less, and it will continue to go that way until there might be another shift. But there's a shift happening just now. I don't know, man. I feel like I can feel it in the air. Maybe I'm just losing the plot a wee bit because it's Christmas and I've got a wee bit of man flu, or maybe I'm talking shite. But that's my honest opinion, you know. That's what I honestly believe. Now, into the next one. Number 4. Therapy isn't for when you're broken. So I went for therapy this year. Everybody knows it. I fucking told you all. I want to maybe get Paul, the guy who I went for therapy with, on the podcast. I think I could actually have a good chat with him now. But so when I went for therapy, right, and also see if you do go for therapy, maybe hang back on telling people you're going for therapy. I didn't tell a lot of people. I told maybe like, but I told some of the people I told were like quite good friends, and I got quite a lot of kickback from it because I wasn't anxious or depressed when I went for therapy. I was actually I was mentally stable. I wouldn't say I was in a really good place because I wasn't. I was having flashbacks to stuff from my childhood and stuff. And I was going through a phase where I was feeling really unconfident with women. And I was feeling really unconfident from just like, I wasn't drinking as much anymore. So like I wasn't going out as much anymore. So I wasn't in as much. I was still coaching in person. So in a gym environment, coaching people, I was quite confident. But see, like going out to pubs, because I wasn't relying on alcohol anymore, I was going through a wee phase where I wasn't feeling as confident, and I was very hyper aware of it. However, I mainly went for my future self because I'd never been in a healthy relationship, and I felt like I didn't know how to fix that, and I felt like I wasn't ever going to be capable of a healthy relationship unless I went for therapy. Now, what a lot of people took from that, like close friends, was like, you don't have struggles with women. You don't struggle with dating. And I'm like, 1, you don't know what goes on in my head. So how do you know that? And 2, I didn't struggle with like attracting women. I don't feel like I'm ugly. In fact, I think I'm very good looking. Carry on. Anyway, being honest, I think I'm a catch. Anyway, I didn't struggle with any of that. When I worked in hospitality, I didn't struggle with any of that. What I struggled with was ever being vulnerable with a woman. And what that led me to do was only ever get near women that I wasn't actually capable of being vulnerable with, or capable of feeling vulnerable with, because I don't feel like I was actually I wasn't in love with them. But that was through my own insecurities, because if I attracted a woman and got into a relationship with a woman that I was actually in love with, I would have malfunctioned like I did the first time I was in a relationship. And the pain I went through after that, of just being riddled with anxiety for like 12 to 18 months, I felt so burned from that, not from the person, just from the experience. Because I think I said it on that podcast, it could have been anyone. The first person I fell in love with, that was always going to happen, because I had fucking shit to deal with from my childhood and stuff. So like, people don't you can tell people that are self-aware and get it. And that was also one of so I'm in a relationship now. I don't want to speak too much about it. But like, I could only be with someone also now, not only that it's a healthy and it's that I'm like obviously interested, like I'm actually in love with them, but someone that gets that part of me. Because if they don't get that part of me, it's fucked. Do you know what I mean? Because you still have it. You don't fix it. You just understand it now. So you stop like making the mistakes you've done before, because you don't completely change yourself. You understand yourself, and you like that does then change things and change the decisions you make. But it's not necessarily about fixing everything. Anyway, yeah. So like, it's not. So I wasn't in a bad place, but it was the best time to do it because I could think rationally about things, and it was for future me, because what happened to me in that first breakup could have easily and would have happened to me again if I got in a vulnerable situation again. But I think I would have just completely avoided it, which also isn't good. Where's the growth in that? Like, just avoiding painful things. The pain avoidance is just like more avoidance down the line to me. That's what I think happens. And I'm very conscious of this podcast not being something where I quote other podcasts, because I think that's what every podcast is just now. There's very little people actually just like talking about their life. It's like, I heard this in a podcast, let's talk about that. Will we just quote some other podcasts? I heard this guy talk about this on a podcast. So that, like, therapy, do it. One of the things I'm most proud of this year is I've not just like, I think I've like 20 people that have messaged me. I've like sent quite a lot of recommendations to Paul, but I doubt he can take all of these people on. I don't know if he has took any of these people on. 4 of my friends have went to therapy, and I'm not saying it. I'd like 4 or 5 clients of mine have went for therapy this year. Don't know if they would have went if they didn't work with me or whatever, but even just putting it out there, that's probably one of the things I'm proud of, the most proud of this year, is the fact that I've had an impact on people to go to therapy. And I honestly, unless like, obviously I have a bad therapist, but same way I'm talking about everything, like, don't just choose your PT based off of an Instagram post. Go and fucking listen to them like people do with me. They listen to me for talk utter shite about all sorts before they come on with me. So try find a good therapist, and I'm going to try have some therapists on next year, because it's something I definitely want to dive into quite a lot. But yeah, go for therapy. It's the best. Definitely everything I'm talking about, even on my, like, I'm talking about honesty. Paul taught me that. I spoke about sometimes I was never dishonest with my first girlfriend, but I also, like, I didn't lie, but I also didn't tell her things. I don't want to talk about this specific scenario because it was only one wee tiny thing, but I was like, aye, but it's tiny. And he's like, aye, but like, I basically just didn't, because she got really annoyed at something. there was more things that she would have got more annoyed by, and I just like stopped talking because she was already annoyed. And he was like, so this is so irrelevant, right? But he said, but how can you be with someone when you think a tiny thing is gonna really, really annoy them and they are gonna blow it out of control? And he's like, so you need to be honest about that, because if the other person can't take it because it wasn't a big deal, then that's an issue you need to deal with there and then. And I was like, okay, fuck yes, okay, you're right, fuck off. You know what I mean? That's the way you react. You're like, yes, okay, yes, you're right, as always, yes, okay, cool, I should be honest. So all of that chat's coming from therapy. You know, my whole spiel about honesty, that's coming from therapy. So it's the best thing you can do. Big realization from a coaching aspect this year is crying. Clients don't struggle with discipline or not wanting something enough. That stance from a coach. Now, the first year or two of coaching, I would say every time like a client didn't do what the structure I gave them, or didn't manage to do everything, I would have been a lot more empathetic than most coaches, but still I got annoyed. I would say 99% of the time I didn't act on that emotion, but I did get annoyed. You would just be like, why is this person not doing this? They're not disciplined. How come I can do it and they can't? That's like, I think that's a natural human reaction. So building self-awareness is understanding what human nature is, and I think that's a very normal human reaction. Acting on your ego is a very normal human action as well. But as a coach, you need to be the most self-aware person in order to help your clients the most, because in order to help your clients the most, you need to teach them the skill of being self-aware. Right, so one of the biggest things I've learned on this topic alone is clients do want it. They do want it as much as you. They struggle with self-sabotaging themselves because they have no belief in themselves. That's my experience with most clients. So you need to dig into why they don't believe in themselves. Whatever the reason is, it's always utter bollocks, right? But that's what all thoughts are. Like most thoughts that hold people back are thoughts that they've made up in their head, that they've said enough times to themselves that they fully believe, right? So like people, like for example, take a random thought, right? A very common one. I can't stick to the gym because I've never went for longer than 3 weeks, right? The reason they've never went for longer than 3 weeks is because of that thought. If they went for 6 weeks, if they got to the third week and that thought came up and they just went, that's just a thought, that's not actually me, and went to the gym, that disproves that thought, and it starts to build self-belief. Now, they'll need more than that, just one gym session to like really build on that, because the thought is still going to be there, it's just going to be a wee bit quieter, but they can still fall into the trap of thinking that thought is a real character trait that they have. Now, if you come at it from the angle of you just don't want it enough, what you need is discipline, that person, whether they are conscious of it or not, starts to lose trust in you as a coach because you don't understand them. You don't understand what it's actually like to be in their shoes. That's why a lot of coaches who have never been overweight struggle to help people lose weight who have been overweight their full lives, because without ever having that experience, they can't put themselves in the shoes or not react emotionally to someone who is overweight self-sabotaging themselves. Now, you do not have to have been overweight to help people lose weight, but because if you think about where people self-sabotage themselves, right, it's just in different areas of life. But you can pull some sort of similarity from somewhere else, right? So I was talking about this to a client the other day. My money situation's better this year, right? But I had to, and I'm still a work in progress, right? So everything I tell people not to do with food and weight loss and stuff, I would do that with money, right? So if my bills increase, not even my spending, like as in me purchasing things, so my expenses all come out at the start of the month, right? And sometimes they hit me like you know what I mean, like my car insurance comes out, like, and then like the bills for the studio come out. Then like I've got an email list. You know what I mean? It just comes out. I had some money there, now I don't. So when sometimes one will be more expensive than I'm expecting, and after that first week, my spending has also risen, and it's because I start thinking, right, I can't save any money this month, so I just start spending a bit more. And I've noticed, honestly, when I make more money, I spend less money, because I'm like, right, I can make more so I can save more. But really, when I make less, I should also be trying to like spend less. But when I make less, I spend more. And it's the opposite of what I tell people to do with calories. Because if I made less and spent less, I would still save a good amount. But unless it's saving, it's like people with weight loss, they're like, right, unless I'm losing as much as possible, then there's no point in losing half a pound. I may as well lose nothing, when it makes no sense. But it took me years to go over that with food. Now, I don't talk about weight loss, so I'm just using that as a concept, because I think most of you, if you've been struggling with weight loss your full life, you should stop trying to lose weight and start trying to go to the gym, right? So scrap the whole, that was just an example. I honestly do not want to remotely push weight loss on people, because it's one of the biggest mistakes people make, is like using the gym to lose weight, and like everything is about weight loss. But like you can pull somewhere. You're a fuck up somewhere in your life. There's something in your life that you haven't mastered. Maybe it's relationships. Maybe as soon as one girl says something to you, or the opposite sex, maybe as soon as you get rejected once, you'd say, oh, that full gender's fucked. You know, because people do that. But I've maybe fell into that trap before. So you can relate to people. Just, you might have to find a different scenario where your thoughts are just as fried as your clients, because they are, but they're also not real. They're not real things. Like, I used to tell myself that I couldn't get past 3 months in a relationship, or I couldn't get in a healthy relationship. The only reason I had those thoughts is because I hadn't yet, and I hadn't been in a healthy relationship. But I kept telling myself that, and which made me keep like either avoiding it or going into like unhealthy situations, not really relationships. So you have to start stripping your ego away from your clients' results in order to help them, right? So yeah, you might see people doing all these weight loss transformations, but what I see a lot of coaches doing is like dragging their clients through 3 to 6 months of coaching, getting them to the other end, but that person hasn't built any self-belief or self-awareness in themselves. They've just been guilt-tripped into doing what the coach has asked of them. Then when that person goes on their own, they don't believe they can do it themselves anyway, and they just revert back to what they were doing. So I come at coaching completely differently. I'm like, because that won't work for all clients as well, by the way, dragging them through, that you'll actually have quite a small success rate. Just people's perceptions are flawed, because coaches only promote the ones that, or only market the ones that they've done well. But I reckon I don't have it on paper, right, but they'll have a lower success rate than the coaches who come at it from, right, I'm going to help them build self-awareness so they can do this on their own. Maybe not over the 6 months, but in 5 years, those clients who've worked with those coaches will be in a better situation. Hands down, 100%. I put all my money on it. All of it. Make me skin. Anyway, so try like this is such good chat, right? If I say so myself, and because this is probably the most important topic, right? So even though I'm fumbling the ball right now because I've forgot where I was going with that, but what was I was going to say? There's only positives to gain from understanding yourself, right? And you cannot take it personally if a client doesn't do what you've set out for them to do. So say it's 3 workouts a week and they come back and they've only done none, right? And you have a visceral reaction straight away of anger. You want to emotionally react to it and stuff, but you haven't even scratched the surface yet. You haven't even asked them why. You haven't even went, or not even why, because that sounds like a dig, because even that sort of wording is just not the way you want to go about it. But even just going, oh, what happened last week? Or not even, what went on your, what was going on in your life last week? You'll find an answer in there where you can then ask another question. It's like, this is the anniversary of when my mum died. Just honestly, stuff like that can happen. Had a breakup, or somebody rejected me, or I missed one session because of work, and then I felt like I'm self-sabotaging myself again, and then I did self-sabotage myself again. There's your conversation, right? There you go. That's the issue. The issue isn't the fact they haven't done the workouts and your ego feels attacked from that and you feel like you're a shit coach. That's your ego talking. The issue is their issue, and it's not your issue. It's theirs, and you need to help them get through that. And you can't do that unless you strip your ego away and go, okay, this isn't because I'm bad at my job. I need to figure out what went on so I can help them. And the only way you can help them is figure out what happened. By speaking about it, they'll understand themselves more, you'll understand them more, and then you can go, right, is 3 workouts a week too hard for you? And they go, yeah, my schedule right now, I'm self-employed and I'm too busy to get 3 in. Probably I've got 2 kids. Okay, do you want to do 1 or do you want to do 2? And they go, let's try 2. And I go, okay, 1 minimum. If you can get 2, great. Most of the time they go away and they do 2 and come back and they go, thank you, I feel a lot better. I feel like I'm build confidence again. And then they get 3 months down the line, they go, here, I'm working 10 hours less a week. And you go, right, let's do 3. That's not, obviously, it doesn't work as smoothly as that. We might need to have 5 more quite intense conversations because they've self-sabotaged themselves again. But then you dig deeper, you ask a few more questions, you understand why. You maybe even go, right, can you, do you want to not work out next week? And because you're that rammed, and then the next week we start from 1. Do you want to maybe come in person? We'll give you a new wee goal. I had one client that was kind of falling off the wayside. She came in and we're starting to learn how to do a pull-up. She's a nurse. When she has night shifts, it's a lot harder for her. She isn't not being disciplined. She works for the NHS and she does night shifts. It's pretty much impossible to do anything when you're doing 12-hour night shifts as a nurse for the NHS. And if you don't understand that, go and speak to a few nurses. So my missus is a doctor with NHS. When she, I've spent time with her when she comes off night shifts. She looks as if she could cry at any second because that's what the job is. So you can't take your clients not managing your tasks personally. It's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. Spoke about it quite a lot on the podcast. I was starting to get better at it this year, but controlling your emotions is always the way to go. And it's a life skill, to be honest. It's a life skill to be able to listen to people and actually try genuinely understand them and not fake it. Short form content is net negative. Very little positives in all aspects, right? So it might, even as a coach, it might sound like a really good idea. And you could you could build a pretty successful business off a year or two of short form content, but then you've pretty much, you've put yourself in a box and you need to stay in that box, and it's very hard to change. Again, a mistake I've made. But it's in all aspects. It's not even as a coach, right? As a consumer, right? So, like, I've made podcasts about this. I've got everyone muted, but my brain finds out ways to, like, still go on Instagram. Well, it's Instagram's muted, so I sometimes still go on TikTok. See, when I, like, actually watch my actions on my phone, especially with this full last month where I've maybe called a few things out, I've been watching myself search people that I know whose content I don't like, and I watch it. And I don't think that's just me. I think we all do that. I think we all are, it's human nature to watch stuff to pay attention to stuff that makes us feel a negative emotion, like anger. That is why the concept of the news gets views. That is why the most popular topic of opinion right now is Israel-Palestine. And yeah, you can have this feeling that you need to be informed about stuff, but you know what? I don't need to be informed about Israel-Palestine. I know what's going on over there. I know it's horrendous, and I have no opinion on either side because I live in Uddingston, just outside of Glasgow, and I know fuck all about it, just like all of the rest of people. You know absolutely nothing, and watching the news just creates like a negative fucking outlook on everything in it. Like, it was a big argument I used to have with my dad all the way through COVID, because he would switch the news on and I would switch off, and I would go out a walk, he would watch the news, and he would just fucking come at me with all this shit that the government was doing, and I'd be like, I don't want to hear it. I was fine until you told me it all. He's like, that's it, lockdown for another 6 months. And I was like, aye, but like, he's like, you need to know. And I'm like, aye, but I don't. If it's going to be 6 months of lockdown no matter what, so I don't need to think about it. And the thinking about it is making me feel horrendous. Well, I think everyone's aware that the news is like toxic, but all social media is toxic because it's based off of human nature. The algorithm is based off of human nature. That's why I slag all these PTs that stand behind massive amounts of chocolate and then are like, oh, if you eat all of this, you won't even gain a pound. But people just want to hear that. That's all people want to hear. People are allowed to eat chocolate, but they shouldn't be eating enough to put on a pound of fat, and they shouldn't be eating even like a big 500 calorie dairy milk. Like, if your diet has like, you know, not the small ones, but you know the big ones, like a 500 calorie bar of dairy milk or whatever, if that is in your diet every day, follow the 80-20 rule if you want, right? But that would be more of your 20% probably, and that would be your biggest problem. And if you even just change that down to like a fun size one, so not the fun size, even the 200 one, but you get the point. Like, yes, that video got a shit ton of views, and yes, like, the message is that you can have chocolate and still lose weight, and yes, like, chocolate isn't bad, but it got views because you're standing in front of 30 fucking dairy milks, and people just want to hear that they can eat chocolate and loads of it. And it's there's more nuance to even what it's the hook, it's the actual reason people have watched the video. They don't even listen to what you're saying. They see a shit ton of chocolate and they want to hear that they can eat a load of chocolate and it's like not a bad thing and it validates them and all of that. But it's a net negative. It's a net negative message. The only reason I know this is because I've fucking done it. I fucking done videos like that and I read my message off of it. There's not that many people that have an actual experience of So the only people that can really speak about what that content actually does is people who have made it. So I've made it, and if I read my DMs, the thinking of the people that were attracted to those videos was very flawed, and my videos were making that thinking more flawed. So it was net negative. This is what I'm talking about, the honesty. The honesty works. It's a thing. Anyway, what are we talking about? Aye, right. So news as well, right? Before I'm a wee bit ranty today. I don't know if you've noticed, but Israel Palestine is this year's thing, right? Do you need to be informed on it? No, probably not. It's fucking horrific. But right, people might slag you and go, you have no morals. You've no morals here. Last year, mate, it was Ukraine, Russia, right? Have I no morals in that, right? Year before that, COVID vaccines, right? Oh, you be informed about it. You be informed about it, otherwise you no morals. People can die. Year before that, Black Lives Matter, right? Oh, you're informed on the history of racism. How the fuck can I be informed about everything, mate? You want me to be an expert on the last 10,000 years of human history? Ah, well, you know, are you not informed on the slave trade? No, mate. I'm from just outside of Glasgow. I was born in 1995. No, I am not informed on the slave trade. Okay? I am aware of it. I'm aware it happened because you fucking all told me it happened. But do I need to be ultra informed? No, I don't. 2020, fucking COVID. The bastard itself. Was I informed? Yes. Because I was locked in my house. So was everyone else. We were all on social media, frying our own brains about it. So, short form content, the news and all that, big lesson this year is it's not good for the old head. It ain't good. It might feel like you're morally, like you're doing well morally because you know about these things. But is it helping up here? Probably not. You know? And you might disagree with me, but who cares at the end of the day? Number 7. Followers mean very, very little. This is the first year I've really gotten my head around this. Oh, nearly hiccuped again. Because it's a very... See this ego, man. He's a very complicated, smart being. I don't know if we call him... Do we call your ego like, what is your ego? Where is it? Who is this man? The ego. Mr. Ego, like what? How was it invented? Because he's the bane of our lives. Now, he could be a woman. I don't know if women have women egos or men have men egos, or they. Do you know what? Your gender neutral jokes are pissing at all. That's it. Number 8, gender neutral chat is old. Nobody is actually that offended by it. Anyway, right, get back to the topic. I'm losing my marbles here. Followers. I've had the best 6 months of business, and it's the first time I've lost followers over a 6 month period. So I've lost about 400 followers. Get rid of CS. But every other 6 months I've probably gained. Sometimes I gain 50,000, sometimes I gain 5,000, sometimes I gain 20,000. But it's the first time I've went down in followers, and my happiness, my fulfillment, and my income has went up, right? And my business is probably like the strongest it's ever been, right? So like, it's the hardest to fuck up. Because I don't feel like clients are ready to leave me like at any time and stuff like that. I have a strong core group of clients. They're all sort of becoming friends. I've met them more, so they have a stronger bond with me. I'm better at my job because I've been less focused on that, more focused on them. When I'm more focused on them, I get better at working with them. I understand them more. And it is purely an ego-driven game. Now, I have attracted the best clients because I've stopped going for followers and started actually trying to help the core people who already follow me. So I think I'm quite lucky that even though I have fell down the stupid traps of like maybe the type of videos with standing behind the chocolate and all that bollocks, right? But I've always been quite aware that, because I was in so I had done social media type of videos when I used to do freestyle, which was maybe from 2014 to like 2018, and then I moved to Australia. So I haven't done it for 9 years straight, but I started making YouTube videos when I was 14, and then there was no sort of talking and stuff. So I've went through, like I was starting to make Instagram videos before they done, and so I was starting to do Instagram before they brought out the video feature where you could do like 15 seconds. Oh, I'm such an old man. You know, I've been here, seen it all. So like when I started PTing, I done the year before I started doing blog posts just to like help myself start learning about like how to frame things to people and stuff. And I just wrote one like how I think it was something like where I want to be with personal trainer, or like how I'm going to become a personal trainer, something like that. They were all private, like they never went anywhere. And I went back and read it, and one of them was like, I don't think I'm going to do social media because I hated it that much the first time. Because all the people who were doing freestyle were all so fake. They were all talking utter shite. As much as I have good friends from freestyle, right? As a core group of people, they are the biggest bunch of like recluses. Like, there's no easy way to put this. Virgins. Like, lots of freestylers were pretty virgin-esque. Like, it was a very solo sport. It's doing tricks mostly in your back garden on your own, so it attracts a very tight, like a very maybe like socially anxious person. So like it used to be very painful to watch them then be at these events, go on their stories and play this act that they were like, and like they had to do it to like get events and get jobs and stuff. But I'm like, oh my god, this is bollocks. Like you are not like that. And then when someone hires you and then they realise you can't string 5 words together to another person, then it's like you just fuck yourself right there and then. So I've always sort of been aware of this, and I didn't want to go down that route, and then I'd fucking done it for a wee while, didn't I? So it's an ego-driven thing as well. So see, like the dopamine spike you get from gaining followers is very addictive at the start. See, if I gained 100,000 followers tomorrow, it would honestly, like, I would just look at it and I would actually be like, fuck that. That's just doesn't feel good. But when it first starts happening, you're like, fuck, man. Looking at your phone all the time, go, oh, Jesus Christ, how many people are following me? This is mental. I am going to be famous. That's what's happening, right? And you genuinely, like, you start believing your own hype as well, that you're actually, like, famous or something. And you're not. You're just you're still that random person with your upbringing or whatever that you were before you made that video that got you followers, and it can just really fuck people's heads up. So I go back and watch some of the freestylers that got followers when they were young, and I'm like, oh, thank fuck that never happened to me. Thank fuck I never was dying to blow up on Instagram when I was doing freestyle. Like, see, when I was like 20, I was like, I'm gonna be a YouTube sensation. I'd done YouTube videos and that. I was like, fuck that, my life will be unbelievable, and my ex will take me back. I'm kidding on. And the same thing happens with PTs. It's like you go in, you're like, right, I'm gonna help people. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna coach people, make them feel better. And then you start seeing what other people's PTs are doing. Like, oh, here, mate, I'm making 20 grand a month, and I've 500,000 followers, and you can do it too. And then they start trying to do it. Some of them, they pop off. They get 100,000 followers off of one video. They start believing their own hype. They start making the same video over and over and over again. Before you know it, 2 years down the line, they've spent so long trying to get followers. Their business is on on the floor. Their audience is dead because they haven't actually learned anything. They've just made the same video and spoke about the same topic over and over again, and they're fucked. And there's hundreds of people promoting doing that, but nobody's actually like, there's very little people coming out and just actually being like, because I think most people do start with good intentions. Just human nature takes over. That wee cunt, the wee prick in here, the ego, he just takes you on a ride. Took me on a ride a few times, but I stopped that. I stopped him, but he'll take me on a few more, and I'm aware of that. Like this wee fuck, mine's is quite strong. I think that's why I'm such a contrarian. I think that's honestly driven by my ego. I think my Ford Fiesta, the banger I drive, is an ego thing. It's like, fuck yous, look how shite my car is, because yous are all stupid for financing your expensive Mercedes. That's what I think my ego is even taking me for a ride there. But yeah, like followers being this thing that you need to have a business. Like, I know the people that you look up to with the most amount of followers, and I know that some of them have no business, or next year their business will be on the ground. I've seen so many of them gain a shit ton of followers, went on their profiles recently, and nobody gives a fuck about them anymore. So that's what I'm saying, this boom, where everyone starts actually craving people that are good people. Aye, we'll go with that. Can't really think of any better English right now. But they're going to crave that. The people are going to get burned so many times that there's going to be a shift, I reckon. But anyway, yeah, followers. You don't need them. Who wants them? Right, number 8. I don't enjoy drunk environments sober. Now, I don't want to bang on about because that's been nearly sober a year, by the way. Thank you. Well done. It hasn't really. I forgot I'm even doing it anymore. I forgot about it since like June. I'm not drinking anymore. It's the whole year thing. Like, it doesn't even become a thing after a while. Not for me anyway. But I don't want to bang on about this, right? And I don't want to make it clips or anything. Like I said, load of people think I can actually help them with not drinking, which I can't. I can only help people through this podcast. And also, following on from followers don't mean anything, right? Honestly, I won't say it from an ego-driven thing, actually, right? I'll say, if you wanted, now don't do this, right? Don't do it. See if you wanted 500,000 followers next year, just from someone that's watching the trends and like watching how their content is received out there. This is what you could do, right? See if you started you quit drinking, right? Made all your content around not drinking. You had an X Factor story where you stopped drinking, stopped taking drugs, and you're from poverty, right? And you started making TikToks about it all the time, and you just were always talking about like mental health stuff and all that. By the way, there is obviously a massive need to talk about mental health, but there's people playing on it. There's people that aren't actually, maybe they think they're helping, but I don't think they are, right? But you could gain 500,000 followers by using those 4 tactics, using like an X Factor story, quitting drinking and talking about it all the time, talking about how you used to drink and take drugs, talking about how poor your family were as you're like, those are the 4. That's a recipe for success. Success, followers, because there's plenty of people doing it, and you'll see it loads, and those 4 things work in terms of gaining a following, and that's also why I don't like it, because I know that it's not real. I don't know where I was properly going with that. I told you, like, there's tangents here. But yeah, that's why I'm not talking about the whole sober thing anymore. I'm not doing like a video on like how I done a year sober, because I done one before, and every time I done the videos on the sober stuff, I just got an influx of following, and it just felt weird because like I'm not the sober guy. Do you know what I mean? I just am sober, but through the not drinking thing, I have. So when you stop drinking, you feel like you need to like learn how to go out sober, but go out in terms of like go to the same things you done when you drank, right? And what you realise, these events that you go to are shite when you go to them drunk. You just get drunker. You just go, fuck, I just had to talk to him from school. I need 5 more pints. And then you go and have those 5 more pints. You go, this is fine because I'm steaming. But so when you're sober, you don't have that luxury. So you just sit there and go, I just had to talk to that guy from school. His chat was shite. And I have to sit here and deal with it. And there's nothing you can do to like for that to be good. You just sit there like, this is shite. He's annoying. I should leave. And then you eventually, like for me, I've started learning like I should leave. And then I do leave. And then when people invite, like when I get invited to more things, I go, that'll be shite. I should not go. And I will not go. And then you feel better because you don't. And it's because I was on a whole hype as well. And I don't disagree with what I was saying. That the reason I put off by the people, the sober people that were posting videos, and I was sober curious. The reason I was put off is because they all also felt that, but they would either try push through. Oh Jesus! I've actually burped. I took the hiccup into the next level. They would either push through and still go to these things, or they would sit in the house. And I was like, that's brutal. This is a much harder. Oh my God, my stomach. This is a much harder solution. But finding people that are up for doing other stuff sober, that are normal sober activities. That's why I get slagged like fuck. But like the hill walking, going out for walks and a coffee, going out with a walk with a dog and all that, and having a good conversation, all get slaughtered by people that are like, oh, these sober cunts, thinking they're morally superior. I'm not morally superior than people who drink. I just don't drink, so I can't be in those scenarios, because the advantage you have over me in a drunk environment is you're drunk and I'm not. And when you're sober, it's shit. So just not doing that. Just being like, I'm not doing it. It's crap. It's pure. The thing that put the nail in the coffin for me was Tiesto. I went to see Tiesto in Melbourne, and it was honestly one of the worst nights of my life. Nothing bad happened. It was just that bad. Just sitting in the crowd, he was remixing Miley Cyrus Flowers. Well, like it sounded like a 2010 house version of it, and everyone was on echoed out their nut, and it was just awful. It was so bad. So I was like, right, cool. I'd rather jump in the sea. Do you know what I mean? I'd honestly rather gouge my eyeballs out than listen to that around a bunch of people that their jaws are on the floor. It's not fun, you know. Anyway, enough about that, because I'm bored of the sober chat as well. Anyway, next one. Now we're getting a bit soppy here. So you've met James and Dale. They're on the podcast quite a lot. They're out there right now. We've had a lot of like quite touchy chats, not touchy, quite deep chats recently, right? So we all have mummy issues, and it's the time of year This recording right now is before Christmas, so it's like the 22nd. It's going to come out on Boxing Day, right? So it's before Christmas. Well, I get my Christmas hat on. 2 seconds. So if you're an audio listener, you're not going to realise what happened, but I'm just putting a Christmas hat on to get into this festive spirit. Bye. We've all got mummy issues in it crops up time of year. They're all trying to get back in contact with us. Yada yada yada. Mine's just trying to tell me how she's doing all this work on herself. Yet I'm like, nah. I think it's going to be the same. And what we've kind of been spoke about it on the last podcast with Dale, is like, why don't we all just like, why does it need to be so family orientated? Because you can't choose your family, right? So some people are like, that's a great thing, right? If you get on with most of them, but I don't, and a lot of people don't. Yet we force these relationships with them, and like going with the whole theme of the podcast, you can't seclude yourself. That's a recipe for disaster. But I can't even say this sentence. My friends are my family. That was brutal. But that's true. So, having a close network of friends is just as useful, if not more useful, than family. And I'm spending Christmas with Aoife, who's my girlfriend, and my dad. And that's different. But but James is spending with his family, but he's single, he lives in a house on his own. I was like, see if he had nothing to do at Christmas, or like he really didn't want to do what he was doing, I was going to say to him, we'd come sit with Chris, because he's met my dad, he's met Aoife. I was going to say to him, we'd come to that. And I went to, 2 years ago, I went to Michael's. So my mate Michael, who probably most people will know, who's a personal trainer, I went to his for Christmas and spent it with their full family. Well better experience than spending it with my family. Like, why do I not just do that? Why don't people just do that? People probably do that. They're probably like, Gavin, you're coming to some realizations very slow in life. But that's my realization for this year, lesson this year, is like, I don't need it. I've never had it, and I don't need to strive to have it. I don't have close family relations apart from my father, who's an absolute legend. But this is, so, not to get too deep, right? I feel like there's a need to be deep about some of these things, right? Because that's the whole point in this. It's like a bit, maybe too emotional, a bit too much, maybe a bit too deep. But like, we've been having deep conversations about my relationship with my mum, me and my dad. And that wasn't me nearly crying there, by the way, because I know that's happened before, but I'm not, I'm fine. So he found letters so my mum kept all our stuff in my dad's attic when we moved house, and there was just hundreds of shit up there, like filled with shit. And my dad was clearing some of it out, and he came across like, I think it was like a journal or something, but it was like pages, so it didn't say diary on it, so he wasn't being an arsehole. It was like from fucking 1999. He started reading it, and I think it was like journal entries that my mum had wrote, and it was just calling my dad like all of these names under the sun. I don't want to go into this too much because that's dead personal, especially for my dad as well. Basically brutal chat, right? But it was stuff I was like telling him that, see, when I was young, father, my mum painted you out to be the worst man in the world, and he is the only family member I'm close to because he's a fucking legend. Because even though he can be annoying and he can say some things that I don't agree with sometimes, and he can piss me off just like anybody's family can. He doesn't do it very often, to be fair. We've got quite a good relationship. He does everything to like, every decision he makes is with my best interest at heart. All throughout my childhood, he still probably does it. Like, here, lay off, man. I'm 28. It's fine. I'm not daft. I'm fine now. But he read that stuff and we were talking about that, and I'm like, I was like, that's not going to change. I've spoke to her recently. She still speaks like that. So if I put myself back in that situation, I know what I'm signing up for. And I'm just not doing it anymore. I'm just not signing up for that anymore. And he's been one of the people that has told me the most about how he didn't have a great relationship with his mum and like all of that, yada, yada, yada. Well, he did have a good relationship with his mum. She was just an alcoholic, and that's a whole other fucking can of worms, just as difficult, just in a different way. But it's like going over things and be like, right, that's how she spoke about you. She spoke about you to me like that, and also she spoke to me like that, and she always will. So there's nothing to gain. It's like when people go back to exes and stuff, like it's not good. There's a reason. Like if you've been burned, you get burned again. You're most likely gonna get burned again, and you have to like kind of. It's very hard. It's such a hard thing to just fucking go right. Yes, because I sit with guilt about like if I speak to my mum, she makes me raging right straight away, like instantly, and I will sit there and go, why do I feel so? I'll sit and berate myself and I'll go, I hate the fact I get so angry when she speaks to me, because she might not have said something, but it's the tone she uses. But it's like she'll trigger something that she done to me during my childhood, and I'll just be like, why am I angry? But then, like him reading those letters and talking about it, he was like, he understood. Because you put rose-tinted glasses on in the past and go, oh, maybe I'm the bastard. And then you read stuff and you go, oh no, that's fucked. And then you go, okay, it's still fucked. And okay, maybe I am not a bastard. You know, that sort of thing. Anyway, that was a whole different tangent. But creating your own Christmas, that's my thing this year. Create my own Christmas. Stop being a Grinch. Still hate all the consumerism, materialistic, pretentious bollocks. Right enough. But yes, moving on to the last topic, because this is actually such a long podcast, sorry. Number 10, you don't need to fix yourself. You need to understand why you are the way you are. Well, this is pretty much just following on from what I was just speaking about. So I won't bang on too much about this, but like pretty much everything that I learned through therapy is still there, right? But it just released so much guilt from me. So much negative self-talk that I didn't even realise I was doing, because I don't negative self-talk with exercise. I don't punish myself for eating food. I don't like punish myself for anything and go to the gym and like run really hard and be like, you're a fucking weak bastard and all of that sort of talk. But I would punish myself for not being open-minded with relationships with my mum or even exes or whatever, and be like, maybe I just need to lighten up and all of that. But then like understanding why I am the way I am, understanding fucking brutally going back and remembering stuff that happened through my childhood, playing out those scenarios, which was one of the worst parts of going through therapy. But fuck me, the contentment you have in the would you use the word enlightened? Is that what that means? Just of like how that has shaped who you are and why you feel the way you feel. And it's not so that you can use it as a like, that's why I am the way that I am, and that's why I'm a cunt to everyone, and there's nothing I can do about it. Not for that scenario. It's so you can go, fuck, I've been beating myself up for that for years when I had quite a lot of right to feel about that. And like, listen, you can't use that for every scenario, because sometimes you're being a bastard. You need to understand that you stop doing what you're doing, and maybe you're the one inflicting that on other people. And listen, we've all done stuff probably that we're not very proud of. Because even throughout all those things, I've definitely spoke to my mum in ways that if I had a son and he spoke to the mum like that, I'd just fucking slap him about. But at the same time, not that she deserved it, I was driven to speak to her like that. So, and also I'd learned it because her and my dad, like, couldn't even... My dad used to pick me up outside and just go nowhere near the house because he couldn't even stand in my mum's company for a second. And that's, like, how I feel quite a lot. But yeah. Like, that's pretty much just saying going for therapy and stuff. And it's just more... Me and Dale spoke about it with Christmas to do with food and stuff. Just, like, trying to understand yourself a bit more. There's honestly nothing negative to come out of it. It might not feel nice. Sometimes you might need to face things about yourself that you've always tried to avoid. And it's not that nice a process. That process was grim, man. Like, fucking read all my conversations with my mum through Facebook and stuff, and like some of the tone she used and like just the way she would speak to me and tell me how I'm this angry person and how just like my dad and how I'm such an... And I was like, oh, that's not fun to read. But I wasn't doing anything. I've just been gaslit. Do you know what I mean? But going through those processes is a good thing. Anyway, that's enough emotional chat. I am done in. I feel absolutely spangled. I'm sweating my pan in. Good. I'm excited about the new year. I'm excited to really bash the podcast. I don't really think there's much people doing long form content, like really raw stuff. Just actually speaking their mind. I feel like most podcasts are very samey these days, and I think there's a need for it. A need for people who be fucking really be themselves, But anyway, that's enough chat for today. If you could rate the podcast, that would be fantastic. And we'll see you in the next episode. It's going to be a good year. Bye.